First, though, Ukraine's military says it's destroyed a Russian warship that was in its territorial waters off the Black Sea, off occupied Crimea. The military said on social media that the Caesar Kunikov, a large landing ship pictured here, was near the resort town of Alupka when it was hit. Well, let's speak to our Ukraine correspondent, James Waterhouse. So do we have any more details about this?
Well, we've seen footage put out by Ukraine's military appearing to show a column of smoke on the horizon looking out to the Black Sea from occupied Crimea, and colleagues have verified that it is indeed, it appears to be, the Caesar Kunikov, this landing ship. It's the second type of vessel in almost as many months that has been destroyed by Ukrainian forces, it appears. We've yet to hear anything from the Russian installed authorities there. They're instead reporting several Ukrainian drone strikes further afield. But what this means, we are talking about a landing ship that can carry several hundred tons of cargo, hundreds of personnel and up to a dozen armoured vehicles. It is the most efficient way for Russian forces to move men and equipment for its southern war effort off the Ukrainian coast. And we make this the 24th Russian vessel that has been damaged or destroyed by Ukraine, which barely has a navy. It's lost control of most of its coastline, and yet it has used these marine-type drones that travel over water. They're packed with explosives or cruise missiles to great effect, which has severely damaged Russia's navy in this area, undermined its presence to the extent that Ukraine can now establish its own trading route for grain once more, and it's lessened Russian missile strikes from the Black Sea itself. And Russia's ability to repair these vessels or replace them completely, it really is questionable given how Ukraine has reasserted itself on the Black Sea. So this will be welcome good news, because further north across the vast front line it is a bit of a different story, where you have Ukrainian generals seriously considering tactical retreats in some areas as Russian ground forces continue to launch wave after wave of attack. But what we are seeing is the Russian Navy continuing to be frustrated by Ukraine, which only has a handful of ships itself.
And meanwhile, we've had this report today that the Kremlin has denied on Wednesday, denied a Reuters report that the Russian President Vladimir Putin had proposed a ceasefire in Ukraine to the US via intermediaries. What do you make of all that?
I think this is nothing surprising. I think Vladimir Putin, if you look at his recent interview with Tucker Carlson, where he sort of announced, repeated, unchallenged, his rationale for this war, and he said he would be open for negotiations on his terms. I think, Vladimir Putin is still looking to take as much of Ukraine as possible, and he is also looking to consolidate what he has taken over the past 10 years in his campaign of aggression against Ukraine. I think the idea of there being any kind of negotiation on Russia's side would come when Ukraine was under enough pressure from its own allies, or that he was able to kind of present something tied in a ribbon as some kind of a win the territory has taken so far. I think we are still yet to reach that point, but the point Ukraine keeps making is that the idea of any ceasefire, concession or anything like that in terms of territory won't stop there for Russia. Ukraine is already having to balance its economic priorities. President Zelensky is having to make political considerations when he mobilizes men in his population, whereas Russia can remain on a war footing under Vladimir Putin. It can continue to mobilize hundreds of thousands more soldiers. It can manufacture more equipment, more missiles, which it continues to launch against Ukraine. And let's be clear, Vladimir Putin's overall goal, his dream, his prize is here, Kiev, as well as the whole of Ukraine. And I can't see that changing anytime soon.
James Waterhouse, thank you very much indeed.